Hi, kids. This is Lindsay. We're going to look at Our World, page 155. So, yesterday we talked about would rather. And I told you would rather means you prefer something. And sometimes it can mean no. In yesterday's video, I asked some kids, for example, I asked Jensen, would you like to hold hands with Jason? And his answer should be, I'd rather not. Because that's a polite way to say no. Sometimes when you talk to your parents or your teacher or maybe even a police officer and they tell you to do something and you'd say, I'd rather not. Maybe it's not polite to say no. So you just say, I'd rather not. That means I prefer not to do something. So if the policeman says, put your hands on your head, what do you say? Of course you say, okay, I'll put my hands on the head. You always say okay to the police officer, don't be crazy. But if your parents say, clean your room, and what are you going to say? Well, of course you're going to say okay. You always say okay to your parents. But if your parents say, listen, stop playing video games, and you say, I'd rather not, well, then your father and mother are probably going to break your computer games. Because I'd rather not means no. It's still polite, but be careful when you use it. Okay? I'd rather not. It means no. So, let's look at the examples again on page 155 at the top. I would rather go on an eco tour than go to a theme park. So my question would be, would you rather go on an eco tour or go to a theme park? For number 2, would you rather go on a tour or stay at the hotel? Did you notice when I asked it, I didn't use the word than. Look at the first again. Would you rather go on an eco tour or go to a theme park? The second one, would you rather go on a tour or stay at the hotel? Oh, I would rather go on a tour than stay at a hotel. So my question is going to use or, and your answer is going to use than. So let's look at it again. Would you rather go on a tour or stay at the hotel? I would rather stay at the hotel. I would rather go on a tour than stay at a hotel. So look how the question and the answers are different. Let's look at number 1. Live by the ocean, in the mountains. The sentence will be, I would rather live by the ocean than live in the mountains. I would rather live by the ocean than live in the mountains. Now, you can change that. You could say, I would rather live in the mountains than by the ocean. Did you notice I moved the verb? Would you rather live by the ocean or in the mountains? So I only used live once. You could twice, but listen to how I only used it once. Would you rather live by the ocean or in the mountains? I would rather live by the ocean than in the mountains. If I changed it, I would rather live in the mountains than by the ocean. You understand? All right, number 2, go camping, stay at a hotel. I don't know what your choice is. Go camping, stay at a hotel. I'll tell you, and I've told you my choice. I'd rather stay at a hotel than go camping. I'd rather stay at a hotel than go camping. I'm too old and fat to be camping. So I don't care, air mattress, no air mattress. No, thank you. I would rather stay at a hotel than go camping. You're a young kid, and young kids like adventure and like to play outside. So maybe you will say, I would rather go camping than stay at a hotel. So look at number 3. Ride a bike on a dirt path, motorcycle. Dirt path means a road that's made of dirt. Sometimes in the forest, you'll have a dirt path. So it's a little dangerous. Maybe the bike will slide, right? So I would rather ride a bike on a dirt path than ride a motorcycle on a dirt path. So listen to it again. I would rather ride a bike on a dirt path than ride a motorcycle. I keep saying it wrong. On a dirt path. Listen to see if you wrote it correctly. I would rather ride a bike on a dirt path than ride a motorcycle on a dirt path. You have to write it that way. You cannot say, I would I would rather ride a bike on a dirt path than motorcycle. You cannot say that. The sentence has to go like this. I'll say it one more time. I would rather ride a bike on a dirt path than ride a motorcycle on a dirt path. You understand? All right. Number 4, walk in the forest, city. Now again, where is this verb going to go? You don't need to say it twice. You can, but you don't need to. So let's try it. I would rather walk in the forest than in a city. Okay? In the last example, I would rather ride a bike on a dirt path than, you have to talk about the motorcycle and the bicycle being different. Ride a motorcycle on a dirt path. But in this one, you don't need that. I would rather walk in the forest than in the city. You could say, I would rather walk in the forest than walk in the city. See? Sometimes you can use the verb twice. Sometimes you can use it once. Sometimes you have to change things, like number 3. Number 5, see wildlife on a photo safari in the zoo. I would rather see wildlife on a photo safari than in the zoo. You could also write, and it's more clear, I would rather see wildlife on a photo safari than see wildlife in the zoo. Got it? Wear sunglasses, get a sunburn. I would rather wear sunscreen. I said sunglasses. I would rather wear sunscreen than get a sunburn. Of course you would. Would you rather wear sunscreen or get a sunburn? So let's ask some questions. Let's do this. Teacher Daniel's class. Let's see who I can ask. I have to remember everybody's names. In Teacher Daniel's class, let's look at, I know, Lisa. Lisa, would you rather wear a dress or jeans? Jeans. Would you rather wear a dress or jeans? Okay, let's ask in Teacher Daniel's class, let's ask, I forgot everybody's names. Wilton, would you rather step on a frog or step on a snake? So scary, right? Would you rather step on a frog, so sad, or step on a snake, so scary? Sometimes you have to make choices. Okay, let's ask Teacher Maggie's class. Let's ask, who can I ask in Teacher Maggie's class? Let's ask Evan. Evan, would you rather stay at an expensive hotel or go camping in the mountains? When you answer these questions, I want the whole sentence. Do not say, I would rather go camping. I want the whole sentence. For example, if I said, would you rather live by the ocean or in the mountains? You need to say, don't say, I would rather live by the ocean. I want the whole sentence, than. I would rather live by the ocean than in the mountains. So those three people who I asked to write in the comments, don't forget you need to write the than sentence, okay? All right. We have finished looking at page 55 at the bottom. Let's go to a water park. I don't feel like it. I'd rather go for a hike. What does it mean, I don't feel like it? I don't feel like it means I don't feel like doing this. I don't feel like doing this means that maybe I'm too tired or maybe I think it's boring, but for some reason I feel I'd rather do something else. So let's look for an example. If I say, hey, let's clean the bathrooms. I don't feel like it. Let's do that tomorrow. Let's watch TV now. If I say, hey, let's make dinner. Oh, I don't feel like it. Let's order Food Panda. Or if I say, let's watch Lindsay's videos. You'd say, oh, I don't feel like it. Let's play video games. So, I don't feel like it means I don't feel like doing that. Okay, let's turn the page. I don't want to look at page 156 yet. I want to turn all the way to 158. So, page 158, are you looking at it? 158 is a travel review. And let's read what they say about the travel review at the top of page 158. A travel review describes someone's experience of a vacation. Based on your review, another person can decide if they want to do the same vacation. To make your writing interesting, you can use different kinds of sentences. You can use short, simple sentences to describe your ideas, or you can combine your ideas into longer sentences. You can also use questions or exclamations. Exclamation means a sentence with an exclamation mark. And that would be an exciting sentence. Wow! Don't go! This was so much fun! Exclamation mark. That is an exclamation. So in this writing, you're writing a review of something you do. Let's say you go to a restaurant in Taipei and you write a review of that restaurant talking about everything you liked, didn't like, something you enjoyed, something you thought was not good enough. So in this review, people will read your review and decide, should I do this? Should I go to a different restaurant? Maybe you didn't like the restaurant, but I would. So if you write the review, people can decide what they think you think. So maybe if I go to a restaurant and say, oh, I hated this restaurant, there was a loud child next to me and he wouldn't be quiet and I didn't enjoy my dinner. Well, you can read that review and think, well, maybe if I go, there won't be a loud child. So maybe if I go, the restaurant will be okay, right? Not every restaurant has a child in it shouting and being loud. So maybe when you go, it won't be a problem. So people read your reviews and they decide, should I go or should I not go? Also, they say you should use different kinds of sentences, which is true for your writing now. For grade 5, for your writing, you need to be combining different kinds of sentences. Short sentences maybe express a very quick idea. I hated it. That was great. I'll give you an example. I went to Disneyland. Even though I had never been to Disneyland, I had a great time, period. It was wonderful, short sentence. I enjoyed it so much, period. So sometimes your sentences are complicated. Sometimes your sentences tell you how they feel with just a short sentence. Let's look for those when we read the story. All right, review of the Antigua Eco Tour. Antigua is a place. Somebody went on an eco tour there, so let's read it. So, if you wanted a special vacation on a beautiful island, where would you go? See, they used a question in their review. I recommend this eco tour at Antigua. So, new paragraph. How do I know this is a new paragraph? Because they've already given me an indent. The indent will tell you. See the two fingers? I'll call it two fingers, but it's when you indent the paragraph, you have an indentation there. So that means that it's a new paragraph. So, the tour guides took our small group on a boat to a natural rock bridge called Hell's Gate. This place is a bridge, but it was not built by people. So it's a natural rock bridge. So it looks like a bridge made out of rocks, but actually nature made that. Maybe the rocks under it fell. So this is a natural rock bridge. It has a name, Hell's Gate, capital H, capital G, the place's name. We had to swim to the island and walk up the rocks and through a cave. Then we walked across the bridge. The view from the top was spectacular. Again, we talked about this vocabulary word. Spectacular means super amazing, right? All right. The guides give you a tasty lunch on the boat. And then it's time to go snorkeling. If you notice, sometimes this book makes a mistake. There should be a comma there. The guides give you a tasty lunch on the boat, comma, should be a comma, right at the comma. And then it's time to go snorkeling. And I told you what snorkeling is. You wear that so you can breathe underwater. You don't go very deep. Your body is on top of the water so you can look down. You wear the snorkeling mask and you breathe through the snorkeling hose. And you don't go deep, but because you're wearing the mask and your face is underwater, you can see underwater. You can see all the fish and the coral. Okay, let me read it again. The boat, no. The boat stopped, I'll read it again. The boat stopped at a coral reef. And we explored the wildlife. Now again, there should be a comma in front of that and. The boat stopped at a coral reef, comma, and we explored the wildlife. So when they say we explored the wildlife, they're talking about all the fish and coral. Coral is wildlife too. They're made of little animals. Remember those polyps? So they explored the wildlife, means they're looking at all the little animals under the ocean. Well, the boat stopped at a coral reef. You remember coral reef? It goes around the island. And we explored the wildlife. We saw many colorful fish. We saw a stingray too. Stingray, the picture on the right. The water can be rough. Rough means not smooth. So if the water is rough, the boat will go up and down. Maybe you'll feel seasick. The water can be rough. So snorkeling is hard work. Why? Why is it hard work to go snorkeling? You're on top of the water and your face is down. So you cannot see if the waves are going up and down because your face is looking down underwater. And you're wearing the snorkeling hose. If that snorkeling hose goes under the water, water will go into the snorkeling hose and into your mouth, and you cannot breathe. So if that happens, you have to blow the water out of the snorkeling hose. And that's a lot of trouble because sometimes you'll drink some of the salt water. So imagine you're looking down and you're using the snorkeling hose and the water is going up and down, up and down, up and down. Sometimes that water will go into the snorkeling hose and maybe your mouth will have some water. You will choke a little bit. C-H-O-K-E, remember the word choke? You will choke a little bit and you have to spit out some water. Maybe you will swallow some salt water and feel sick. So it's not easy to snorkel when the water is rough. Okay, so let's read it. But it's worth the effort. You know, I don't like it when you start your sentences with but. There's no reason why they couldn't write, So snorkeling is hard work, comma, but it's worth the effort. When we got back on the boat, there was a snack of banana bread ready for us. Delicious. What is banana bread? Banana bread is like a kind of cake. Sometimes you'll buy it in bakeries. It looks like a loaf of bread, and they put bananas and sugar and sometimes nuts inside, and they cut it. So that's banana bread. Okay? So when we got back on the boat, there was a snack of banana bread ready for us. Delicious! Do you see that exclamation mark, delicious? They used one word with an exclamation mark to tell you how they felt or how it was. It was delicious. So they just used delicious. Sometimes you do it in your writing like yummy, delicious, awful, great, amazing with an exclamation mark. Okay? If you prefer doing something active on vacation instead of sitting on the beach, this is the trip for you. If you prefer doing something active on vacation instead of sitting on the beach, this is the trip for you. Is this second conditional? It's not. They are using a conditional sentence here, but this is not second conditional because it doesn't have past tense and it doesn't have would. So if you prefer doing something active on vacation instead of sitting on the beach, this is the trip for you. So if you like sitting on the beach, this is not the trip for you. If you prefer doing something active on vacation, this is the trip for you. Let's ask somebody some questions. In teacher Sandra's class, let's ask Apple. Apple, do you prefer doing something active on vacation or sitting on the beach? Do you prefer doing something active on vacation or sitting on the beach? Let's ask teacher Maggie's class. Who could I ask? I know. In teacher Maggie's class, let's ask Brian. Brian, do you prefer doing something active on vacation or sitting on the beach on vacation? So write those answers in the comments so I can see who is watching all of my videos. Maybe next time I'll ask you. So we've read this story. If you have to write a review, it doesn't have to say why you didn't like something. In this whole review, they didn't write anything bad. They wrote everything good. Now, some reviews want to complain about everything, and they don't want you to go. And they'll tell you all the bad things. But if you do that, then maybe nobody will believe you. Because if you write everything was awful, this was awful, this was awful, this was awful, somebody will say, wait a minute, nothing was good? The weather wasn't good? And look at this review. Everything was perfect. Wait a second. Was it? Did he write everything was perfect? Or did he write some things that may not be perfect? He did. If you look at the story again, the lunch was tasty, the wildlife was beautiful, the view was great, but remember he said the water was rough? So we'll probably believe him because he didn't tell us everything was perfect. He told you the good and the bad. Now, of course, he's telling you this was a great tour and you should try it. He recommended the tour. He recommended this eco tour. Now, also, why is this an eco tour? Well, of course, it should be good for the environment. And on this tour, the environment was the coral reef and the ocean there. So what is this good for? It's good for that environment. So, for example, they didn't step on the coral reef. They didn't kill any of the fish. They didn't go fishing. They didn't catch anything. They didn't take any coral. They didn't pick up any rocks. If you go to those places, you shouldn't touch anything. I remember we went to Green Island, and on Green Island, we can go snorkeling, but the water is not very deep. So some people wanted to stand up sometimes. You got tired. So you're snorkeling and you wanted to stand up. You could, the water was not deep, but the guide said, don't stand up. Float in the water. Let your legs float and your shoulders float in the water and look down. Even though the water was not deep, they didn't want you to stand up. Why? Because if you stood up, you could break the coral. You could step on fish. You could even get hurt. Maybe there was something sharp, or maybe you stepped on a dangerous jellyfish. But the reason they really didn't want you to step on it is because if all of those people stood up, then everything would be broken and it wouldn't be beautiful for other people. So that's what an eco tour is. They take you on the tour, but they don't want you to hurt the environment. Let's compare that to one time we went to Thailand. And on Thailand, I was sitting on the beach and I watched 2 or 3 tour groups and maybe 20 or 30 people and 20 or 30 big groups of people, and they came by boat to the beach. Now, they were going to come to the beach and quickly leave, maybe in 1 or 2 hours. You probably know that kind of tour. Well, those people were on the boat and drinking Coca-Cola and drinking wine and having a beautiful time. They didn't want to get dirty. So they took newspapers and put the newspapers on the beach and sat on the newspapers. Great. But when they got up, they didn't take their newspapers. So when they left, there were newspapers all over the beach. That was not an eco tour. The tour guide should tell them, listen, when you leave, take your trash with you, right? Also, one time in Thailand, I saw a big tour group of people and they were snorkeling. And some kid said, look, Mom, I found a shell. And the mom said, oh, great, you can take it home with you. And one little girl said, Mom, look, I found a jellyfish. And she was using a stick and playing with the jellyfish. And she probably killed the jellyfish. Now, if everybody did that, then there wouldn't be any seashells. So when you went there would be nothing beautiful to see. And if everybody did that, you would kill a lot of jellyfish. So even if you don't go on an eco tour, you can try to be good to the environment. But an eco tour will tell you, don't do this, do this. Float on top of the ocean, don't stand on the coral. That's what an eco tour is. All right, look at page 159. No, again, what we're talking about, be a respectful tourist. If you're a tourist, be respectful. Think, pair, share. Is tourism a good thing for a place? Is it a good thing for local people? If you live in Taipei City and there are a lot of tour groups walking in front of your house, you wouldn't be happy. Maybe in the afternoon you're trying to eat lunch, or in the morning you're trying to go to school, and there are many tourists around your house throwing trash, making a lot of noise. You would be very uncomfortable. Well, imagine if you lived in a very popular place like Paris or New York, and you're trying to go to work, you're trying to catch the bus, and there are tourists taking pictures of you, taking pictures of your house, taking pictures of the city. You want tourists to come to your city. It's a beautiful city. But you want tourists who are respectful, who are polite, right? You don't want them throwing trash in front of your house. Look at the next one. How should tourists show respect for the places they visit? Well, in English, we have a saying, do to others the way you want them to do to you. That means, how should a tourist treat Taipei, well, that's how you should treat another place. For example, a few years ago, there was a story about a little boy who went to Egypt, and he was a little bored, and he was in a pyramid, and he took his keys and he wrote his name in the rock. Now, when he went home, he wouldn't do that to a famous place in his country, but he went to another country and did that. You should do the same in that country that you want other people to do in your country. All right, compare your ideas with a partner or group. Which ideas does everyone like best? Ideas does. What a strange sentence. I would say, which ideas does everyone like best? I would say, really, I think you can think of 3 or 4 ideas, but which one do you like best? It's hard to say. All of the ideas that are respectful will be okay, right? All right, at the very bottom, to bridge cultures. That means to make 2 cultures come together. You must mix people together. Education and travel are the best teachers. So, if you want to understand how to be a good tourist, maybe you should travel. If you want to understand people, maybe you should travel. Maybe if you think, oh, those people are bad, well, maybe you never really visited their country before, so you don't understand how they live. All right, thanks, kids. See you next time. Bye-bye.